Parents, you cannot be neglected along your child's hearing loss journey. You are a really, really important part of this whole story. That's what we're going to be talking about for the next few minutes. I'm Dr. Lilach Saperstein, host of the All About Audiology podcast and educational audiologist, talking about how hearing loss in the family affects everyone, not just the person who has the hearing loss. And today specifically we're going to talk about parents of young children, but most of what we're saying applies in general to parenting as well as to dealing with hearing loss in any family member, an elderly parent, a spouse, adults or children. So one of the important roles of a parent who has a child with a hearing loss is taking care of all of their medical audiological needs. That means taking them to hearing test appointments, taking them to the ENT, taking them for getting hearing aids, the fitting of the molds, and then the programming, or in the case of cochlear implants, lots and lots of mapping appointments, therapy appointments. There are so many things that parents are responsible for, as in any kind of medical case, but specifically with hearing loss, there are a number of appointments. And when there are so many appointments, it can be a real stress and a struggle to the family unit, taking days off from work, getting to appointments, all of that. And so there's also financial implications to that, not only for the cost of devices and hearing aid devices and batteries and visits and time off work and transportation to and from clinics, et cetera, et cetera. There's also an emotional cost. There's also a stress associated with all of the turmoil, the questions, the uncertainty, all of the things that come with having a child with any kind of, issue in general, medical or otherwise. And with hearing loss in particular, this can also cause stress on the relationship because, as we know, relationships are hugely based on having good communication and being able to connect with each other. And in the case of a hearing loss, there can be a lot of breakdowns in communication and other compensatory strategies. That means other ways to make up for the disconnect in communication needs to be employed, and that can also be difficult, and there might not be the proper training. So why am I talking about all this? It's because I heard two stories today that I think really demonstrate the fact that parents need to also be taken care of and attended to and given the proper guidance and also treatment for their experience of having a child with a hearing loss. The first story was about a mother to a child who was diagnosed when he was 4 years old. But at that time, they were told, oh, it's only a mild hearing loss. It's not enough to lead him to need a hearing aid or anything, and they kind of just let it go. And he had other medical and learning needs at the time, so it kind of went to the wayside. Also, this was a family with many other responsibilities, other children, other jobs, etc. And that's what the audiologist and ENT said to them, right? They kind of released them from care and said, maybe just keep an eye on a yearly test. And only when he was 7 years old and much older, a few years later, that's when they readdressed this issue and said, hey, why isn't this child using hearing aids? And so it's difficult to say, was there a mistake that happened? Or was it a difference of opinion? Was it, and so the mother at the point now where she is being told that what they did then was maybe not the right thing, was racked with guilt and feelings of inadequacy for not knowing what should have happened or what needed to be done. And at this point saying, were we misled? Were we this? So putting aside the story of what should have happened or what could have happened, today that mother is in need of support in order to get to the understanding that what they do from now forward is what's going to matter. What information we have today is what we can make decisions based off of. And so really I think that that's the specific piece of what are we going to do today? What are we going to do with the information we have now? Or how can we get more information to then make more empowered decisions? That's where the power and the self-advocacy, the self-efficacy, being able to do things and being able to be effective, that's where that power really comes from. And it's a big reason for why I constantly and continually put out so many resources and information and talk to people all the time, one-on-one, Instagram, Facebook, all those things, because besides for my patients, I feel like there needs to be more of this message out there that if your child has a hearing loss, you as the parent also are going through something. Besides for being their caregiver, besides for being their biggest advocate and becoming everything you need for them, you yourself also may need to take stock of your experience with this and get help for yourself with information, with guidance, and with support. And if that means, seeing a therapist or getting counseling specifically to the difficulties and challenges that you're going through. And I also offer a mentorship program that's one-on-one with parents, where I combine making decisions for their children's care and giving a lot of information about audiology topics, but I combine that together with how are you handling the challenges, the stressors, the mindset, the beliefs that you have about raising a child with a hearing loss, and how are you overcoming the storm of emotions, which can sometimes come right in the beginning after a diagnosis, but for many people, it actually comes on a couple of years in, where the acute stress, the big diagnosis and all the changes and maybe surgery, maybe this, maybe that, like when their child is more settled, then at that point, many parents feel like, oh, I can now address what I've been going through. And so that's something that I teach and advise on within my program, the Hope Beyond Hearing Mentorship Program, which you can find more details about in the link allaboutaudiology.com/hope. Now, the second story that I also encountered on Facebook today was from a mother who said that she has been a very avid advocate for her child in the academic setting, but in the extracurricular setting, in dance lessons or at the playground or at these other, family gatherings, like Thanksgiving is coming up, there's going to be all this new and difficult acoustic environments, like having 25 people around a table is a difficult acoustic environment. And also everyone's going to be asking and looking and, some of these times that we're outside of our routine and comfort zone, that's like, school, home, you have these new opportunities to have new challenges, opportunities for challenges. And what we see is that sometimes people are so focused on fighting for services, fighting for care, fighting for treatment, that what's then missing or what's, not taken to the next step is how we're going to enjoy life and make friends and be part of social life and like advocate for your child at a birthday party, which is a whole different set of encounters than advocating for your child, to their teacher or in a doctor's office. Hi, Miriam. Thank you so much for joining. We're talking about how parents really need to care for themselves and take their own journey, their own experiences really super seriously, especially if there's something going on with their kid. So if you have any comments or questions about that, definitely leave them here, or if you're watching this in the replay or on YouTube, definitely leave a comment for me and come and follow me and join the conversation that we're always having over on Instagram at All About Audiology Podcast. So I just want to leave you with a huge and beautiful self-care tip that has actually really benefited me in just becoming more grounded and aware and present with the challenges that are happening, with the feelings that are going through whatever's happening. and it's actually a very simple thing. It's called 222, and well, that's what I call it. And what it does is, it's attending to your senses in the here and now, to feel two things, to hear two things, and to see two things. So what this comes down to is, let's say you woke up from a nightmare, or let's say you're having like a lot of thoughts or spiraling anxiety, and you can remember, oh, 222, let me do a 222. And what that means is I'm going to feel two things. So it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to feel my shirt. What is the texture? Okay, the button is like hard and cold, and over here it's like a little bit more coarse. And so those are two things that I felt. And then I'm going to do two things that I hear. Okay, there's like cars outside that I can kind of hear, and there's a slight hum from my refrigerator right there. So like I just attended and attuned to two things in my environment. First in tactile, then in hearing, and then in seeing, where I'll just name two things that I can see, which is, okay, I'm looking at my phone, that's number one, and there is my fan right over there, that's number two. So it's kind of like a 222 that you can bring yourself back to being present in the here and now by connecting back with your senses. And that's one of many self-care tips or exercises that I always like to share with you guys. And there's a lot more and deeper kind of things that we can then connect with the experience and the challenges of being a parent to a child with a hearing loss, or anyone who is dealing with a hearing loss in the family. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out, and there's the link in the description to learn more. Listen to the All About Audiology podcast for any lots and lots of great interviews and information and resources on many topics within audiology and about hearing and hearing aids and cochlear implants and sign language and lots more. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.